guys, it is Friday.
Is it Friday?
It is Friday.
Every day's Friday.
And it's Survival Dispatch Live. Chris Weatherman, folks, if you don't know.
The life of a writer, folks.
So every day is Friday.
Or Monday. It's either all Fridays or all Mondays.
So, all right. Today we're going to talk about, EMPs, just kind of in general, prevention, what they are, how are they caused, what can cause them, and then prevention. What can you do with regards to preparation in your house, on the road while you're traveling.
Yeah, and a lot of people always say, "Well, everybody always talk about EMP." Well, because that is like the worst thing, literally, that could happen to our country. Yeah. Very easily too, very easily. It's
and the most instant.
Yeah, it's like we're good and we're not good.
Yeah.
So that's why we talk about that, guys. Because if you prepare for that, you can meet a lot of the other problems.
And we'll also say that we have a couple of angry American fans out there, and they've been requesting that I do an EMP video. So here is your EMP video. So Chris knows a little bit about writing on EMPs. Why don't you go ahead, shameless plug.
Oh, for the books?
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you haven't read them, you've lived under a rock. No, I'm just kidding. No, check out the Going Home in the Survivalist series, as Penguin like to call it. First book, Going Home, and there's 10 books in the series, and it's all about an EMP here in the United States. That follows one guy and his family and the family that kind of coalesces around these people. Because when we talk about family, it's not just our blood kin, I consider John, Nikki, I consider these guys part of my family. These are guys I rely on, I trust, I think a lot about them, and a lot of them. And community is the biggest aspect. That's what my books are really about, is about the community. Yeah. You cannot go this alone, no man is an island. And Alan Kay and I are writing a book right now too, and I'm gonna give you guys a line that I came up with when he and I were sitting writing.
Alan's not here, so Chris is going to take all the credit.
Well, no, some of our best work happens when he and I are sitting around a bottle of whiskey late at night and stuff
They're not drinking it, they're just sitting around it.
Just looking at it.
It's kind of a weird scene.
We absorb it through osmosis. Yes. But if something like an EMP were to happen, or even a cyber attack, it could be the cyber attack won't be as severe as an EMP, but the overall consequence would be pretty damn close. And if that ever occurs, there is no sitting it out. Yeah. You will play the game. It will not be a spectator sport. Everybody will be involved. There is no, I don't want to do this at that point. Right. And that's what preparation is all about, is to give yourself a little bit of confidence and knowledge, skills, material to take care of yourself and your family. Yeah. And that's really what we're talking about.
And I think the biggest thing is no matter how you live, where you live, here in America, I will say, we won't go third world, but we live off of technology.
Yes. Especially in this country.
Especially in this country.
Yes.
And it has made how we live dependent upon it.
Well, it's made it fantastically comfortable, entertaining, enjoyable, but everything is dependent on that spark. And by that spark, I'm talking electricity, be it electronics or whatever. And if you take that away from this country, especially certain generations that are in our country currently, I mean, you have to stop and think, folks. There's people alive today that do not know what life was like before smartphones. Mm-hmm. Don't know what life was like before the internet. Yeah. I remember when the internet started. When Al Gore did it? I was there. I watched it.
We used to listen to it dial up.
You got mail. Remember those days? Oh, yeah. But there's people alive that don't know what life was like before. Now, let's go back 150 years. There's no one alive that remembers those times. And that's the kind of life you'll be living. Yeah. So it would be a profound shift in society, and a lot of people are not going to deal with it well. Yeah.
And so here we go. If you have questions, as always, we kind of go rapid fire.
You guys are going right at them too.
Yeah, we already have a ton. Nikki, can you just tap the teleprompter? It's got something on it. But ask your questions. We'll answer it as we go, and that's just what we do. So put your questions in the comments. Allie and Nikki will be there posting them. Yeah. Also, as far as links go, if there's things that we want to reference, talking about a solar panel or anything, Nikki will leave comments.
Or to answer Gina, a Faraday bag.
So Nikki will leave links to pretty much every product that we can come up with a link for. So these guys are freaking awesome behind the scenes. So thank you to them as well. So we're gonna jump right into it.
We have to keep Nikki behind the camera because he has a face for radio.
And a voice for television.
So the first question is from William. He says, I know things like a solar controller, et cetera, will be knocked out, but what about the solar panel itself? How do you protect the panel? Well, there's really only one item on a solar panel that can fail. It's a very small part, about 3 cents. It's a diode. There's one on every panel. That's really the only piece of electronic equipment on one. The diode would probably survive, but worst case, figure out what size diodes your panels have on them, spend $3, buy a bag and a soldering iron, you'll be able to repair them if you
kind of like a fuse in a car.
Pretty much.
You know, so, and that's pretty much, yeah, and that's kind of why they're built in there also.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're there to prevent backflow and stuff like that, but, you know, EMP is a cumulative effect, I should say. So the more antenna you have, the more conductive antenna you have, the more load you'll absorb. So in your solar panels, the glass, the panel itself isn't conductive. Really, it's going to be the cable running to and from them. That's really the issue. So they're not as fragile as people think, and they'll probably survive just fine. But yeah, your charge controllers, inverters, all that stuff, unless you've got them protected very well, probably won't survive. Maybe. Best case is to have a backup on the shelf. So. And
let's talk about that for just a little bit. This is a difficult topic.
Yes.
Just due to the fact that we've never had.
Yeah, society has never experienced it.
Correct.
Yes.
You know, and EMP and some solar flares.
Yep.
From a nuclear device detonated in the atmosphere.
Yep.
So, you know, there's multiple ways that they can be caused, but we've never been able to record, examine the data,
Correct.
And come up with a solution. So, you know, the best thing we can do is try to prepare. And I think that's why EMPs for a lot of people are a difficult topic at times. You have the encampment of, well, shit, you can't do anything about them anyways, can't stop them, why try?
Yeah.
And then you have the, if I build a 2x4 and wire mesh Faraday cage, every single thing within inside of that is perfectly safe.
Well, and there's another camp here too that has always bothered me in that I feel people are limiting themselves. And it's every piece of equipment, gear, anything they buy, their first question is, will this survive an EMP? Like, why have a GPS? If an EMP happens, it's going to go out. Well, because until that day, I'm going to use the damn GPS. Yep. You know, I'm going to use the electronics. I'm going to use as much of that stuff as I get my hands on. Don't limit yourself to that. Have plans for if that should occur, but the odds of that are slim, you know, but probably getting better really by the day. But you know, don't predicate your entire life around the fact that an EMP is going to burn all this crap up. You're not gonna if you want to live that way and think that way, sell your car, move into a log cabin in the woods. You know, I mean, live that way. Don't pretend like I'm not going to buy it because it's not EMP proof. So.
Yeah, and we got that. You know, we got that a little bit. You know, last week conversation with regards to get home bags. It's like if your radio and your GPS and your watch and your flashlight, if all of it's going to go to anyways, why start by putting it in there? Because until that specific time happens, we get to use all of it.
And again, like I said, EMP is cumulative.
Yeah.
How much antenna does this have on it? Not a lot. And two, there's a lot of misnomers about EMP. A great deal of science goes into the damage that will be caused by EMP. How high was the blast? What kind of blast was it? What's the orientation of the device to the blast when the blast occurred?
How far away was it?
How far away was it? There's a number of things. Was there any shielding between you and the blast? There's a number of things that go into it. You know, like in most cases, your cell phones are probably going to survive. They're probably going to work. Cell towers aren't going to work. Some phones will certainly die. Many cars will die. A lot of them, wait 15 minutes, they're probably going to start back up. Anything parked in a parking garage or underground, probably gonna be just fine. So there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into this. And, you know, in the fiction world, we like to try to make things look as bad as we can for a reason. But the reality of it is, the grid would go down, absolutely. And the other thing which isn't talked about in any of the EMP books, I didn't even do it in mine, is the number of structural fires will be. The substantial number of fires. A lot of places will burn to the ground.
Yeah, and you know, and what I was saying though is with regards to not having the previous data in order to gear the future towards, you know, Chris and I, you know, living in Florida, we have a record of thousands of hurricanes.
Yeah.
Their paths, their strengths, their speed, everything.
Yep.
And based off of that, the state of Florida has introduced things like building codes, you know, hurricane straps, window shutters, different types of glass, because they have had the data in which to look at and say that will sustain that. We can almost guarantee it. Now, I say almost because
you can never guarantee
nothing's a guarantee. But we've made preparations and to withstand the next event.
Yes.
EMP, it's difficult.
Yeah, because again, it's never happened. So there's a lot of guessing, but there's a lot of science behind this too, guys. So it's definitely worth taking the time to do things like Gina's question: how to build or buy the best Faraday cage. You can buy them. SurviveTek, we sell these. I had these tested in a government lab. They exceed mil-spec rating for RF, which is basically what EMP is.
Yeah, and we're going to be releasing that video, right, Nikki? Nikki is like our Paul Schaefer. But
Except they don't have a microphone.
But we're going to be releasing a video showing all the results of these bags. And these are the 2 bags that we sell on our site. The link is getting posted by Nikki now. Yep. This is the trucker bags.
Yep.
This is fantastic for putting a radio or
GPS,
GPS.
radios. Your Baofeng will fit right in here.
Yeah, and then throwing it in your
cell phone. Because a cool thing with cell phones, like I said too, is you get a cell phone, especially a smartphone, you can put unlimited PDFs and whatnot on that thing. You can make it a survival tool. Throw it in here too.
Yeah.
Along with your radios, like I said, GPS handhelds. This thing here's great.
So this is the Vault.
Laptops.
Yeah, this is
night
the Vault.
vision. Night vision will fit in this one too, but it's tight. PVS 14 will.
Yeah, this was really made to kind of Gina's question with regards to this is I would say a smaller Faraday cage in a way.
Yeah.
A great place to hide a ton of your electronics and stuff that you want to keep. And one of the things that we include with both of these are these Mylar bags. Now, a lot of people say that these will actually, have EMP, they're EMP proof. No, they're not at all.
EMP proof. They do help.
They do help, but here's what these do. Yes. What these do is they create an insulative layer between an antenna, any type of metal that a product might have that's going in the bag and the bag itself. Because what's on the inside of this is actually a copper mesh lining, and that's what actually makes it reflect the coat. But if you were to say put like a Baofeng radio that has the metal part of the antenna, the receiver, if that were to touch a piece of metal on the inside of the bag, all you've done is made an antenna this big.
A big antenna.
So when you put it inside the Mylar bag, it then keeps it from touching.
It creates and that goes for any Faraday cage. If you build a Faraday cage out of screen or metal cloth or whatever, you have to have a non-conductive layer between the equipment inside of it and the cage itself. They cannot come in contact with one another. And if you're building a Faraday cage, as in like a large one, you need to ground that thing too. That means ground rods, grounding cables, that sort of thing, to really lock it down. So, but as far as a quick and easy, the good thing too about these is your stuff's in it, you can grab this and go real fast.
Yeah.
Throw it in the car or whatever. And again, I'm not predicating this on it being an EMP, but if you need your stuff, something's happening, you can grab this and go. It's already organized, yeah.
So this is what we sell, what we use. All of us in the room have them in our bags at our house. So click the link, $49 for the pair. It's a fantastic deal. So, all right, next question.
So,
take this one.
Well, this is more of a statement. He says,
Statement.
I can't tell who said it, but he says, I hope they address that EMP is part of MAD doctrine, and yes, our nukes will fly, and there's enough floating nukes at sea on boomer class subs. You only have to worry till nukes fall. Yes and no. If we're talking about a nation-state actor, you're absolutely correct. If it's North Korea, Iran, Russia was to EMP us, China, then yeah, there's mutually assured destruction is part of that doctrine. But a rogue element or even a nation-state that doesn't want it to be obvious it was them could very well conduct an EMP strike against us, and we'd never know who did it. The Russians built a missile launch system that goes into shipping connex, can be put on a ship. When it's at sea, this thing can open up and launch a rocket. That can be done from a freighter off Long Beach or New York. We would never have time to react for that to happen. They could scuttle the ship as soon as it happens. We'd never know who did that. We'd never know. So it's not quite as cut and dry as the statement made it sound. But yeah, if we see an incoming nuke, we're going to be able to plot its trajectory, tell where it came from, and respond in kind. But the possibilities of even terrorist groups getting this kind of technology. I mean, the Houthis who are fighting Saudi Arabia now have some very sophisticated ballistic missiles. They could potentially pull it off with that. Mm-hmm. So it's not that. The hardest part is obviously the nuclear warhead device that's tuned to an EMP. So you got to have substantial money behind you. But it's not all nation states. So just bear that in mind.
All right. So next question. You can take this one as well.
I have a large safe with an electronic keypad. My recommendations to protect without having to replace the whole keypad. I have a big safe champion, and I use the electronic keypad too. A lot of people are very much against that. But I can tell you for a fact, Liberty Safe tested their keypads for EMP, and they all survived. Again, antenna, how much wire is hooked to this thing, how much signal can it absorb. But I know that Liberty, they specifically say that theirs are EMP proof.
Yeah, and it all depends on the safe and where the electronics are housed within the safe. Some of them are really exposed on the outside of the door. Some are actually built into the door. So it has, shielding, quasi-shielding around it. I know there's plastic on the front,
And there's very little electronic to them. There's the keypad, there's a small processor in there, but all it is a solenoid. I mean, it's a couple solenoids in there. It's a fairly robust thing. It's very simple. But like I said, Liberty Safe tested theirs, and they clearly state they're EMP proof.
Yeah, and if you're looking for safes for this reason, there's quite a few safes out there that have both a manual and a digital keypad on it. A manual one, no matter what, if you unlock that, it unlocks the door. I have a manual one. I don't mind it. It takes me 20 seconds to run the combination on it. And it's just one of those things, I got a really good deal on it. Yeah. It was a big, huge, ginormous, heavy safe.
Mine, I got a good deal on mine. My safe's about that wide, and it had a digital keypad, and I didn't bat an eye at the price. And again, what's the chances of this actually occurring, and what can I do about it?
Yeah.
So,
But most are not going to have an issue.
No.
Okay, John wants to know, let's see, opinions on portable solar power supplies. So, batteries,
I guess he's talking like Goal Zero, that kind of thing, the little solar stuff.
Yeah.
And because the next question too is like Kodiak.
Aaron asks, what things like Energy, Kodiak, Goal Zero generator would be affected by an
Well, we'll kind of answer both of those.
Yeah.
As far as solar power supplies, Goal Zero makes some really nice stuff. I like this stuff. It's cool. It's put together great. But
it's easy to use.
But you really don't get a lot of power in them.
Right.
You really don't. I made my own by buying AGM batteries and a Pelican case. I put the batteries in it, fuse blocks, charge controller, put some connectors on it so I can plug a 100-watt solar panel into it. Same thing. I can drag this thing around, but it will run for days. It'll run circles around a Goal Zero, and I built it for a fraction of the price. I think I have a YouTube video on my channel if you guys want to look at it, but we'll probably show it one day. If you want the ease and convenience of Goal Zero, like I said, their stuff's really cool. I like the way their panels, they have the stand, the tripod, that 4 panels will go on, but those are only 40-watt panels. You put 4 of those up, you got 160 watts. For far less money, you can go to Amazon, buy 200-watt panels. You got 200 watts now.
Yeah.
A piece of PVC propped up under the ends, works just fine. That's how I do it. I put USB chargers, 12-volt cigarette adapter, and another kind of plug, which is escaping me right now, into the case so that the lid's shut, I can plug stuff in, run it. I even put a voltmeter on it, so at a glance I can tell how much power is in the batteries. So,
but yeah, most of
you
that
can build
stuff,
it yourself.
Most of the Goal Zeros have built-in fuses. A lot of these are protected for back feeds. If something were to happen, it'll pop the fuse before it starts frying circuit boards and stuff inside of it. So, and it also depends, on where you're going to store your devices as well. Outside is a whole lot different than in the center of your house in a closet.
Well, the Goal Zero stuff too. They're electronic heavy.
Yeah.
And microprocessors and that sort of thing. There's a lot of smarts inside of those little boxes, and they are susceptible. So, again, like the system I built, the only susceptible parts I have are the charge controller that costs like, I think $40 on Amazon. Then the diodes on my panels. And if I have an inverter thrown in there, which sometimes I do, there's that as well. But these are cheap parts that I can easily store extras of for just in case, as opposed to trying to store a whole extra Goal Zero unit like a Yeti or something like that, which is $1,400. That gets pretty expensive. You could build probably 7 or 8 of those for what I paid to build mine with.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I would think they're pretty safe though.
Yeah, overall they're going to be fairly safe. And and if you've got the money and it's in your budget, get one. Have it now. Use it, and because you're far likely to experience a power outage due to natural disaster, floods, hurricanes, snowstorms, whatever, where that will come in handy and you'll need it, as opposed to just waiting for the EMP. We talked about that already, guys. Don't become too wrapped around the axle about the EMP thing. There's a lot of other stuff that is going to happen to you, and having this stuff will pay dividends. So.
We'll go down to this. We'll skip one here. What are your recommendations for an EMP safe light source? The Watchman News. Would love to hear your thoughts on EMP shield. Personally, I wasn't born last night. No way they can protect.
We're not going to comment on EMP shield due to some ongoing litigation that we are not involved in.
There you go.
But a friend of mine is, so I'm not going to say nothing about EMP shield. Sorry, guys. Take it for what it's worth. Go watch some of the videos if you want to. We're not going to talk about EMP shield.
There you go. That's why I said we would skip. Now we'll skip one, and we went back up to the next one. So go to the top here.
Okay, so interview with Dr. Peter Pry. I have his email. Could ask him to get in contact.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to talk to him. Yeah, any kind of expert in the field. We'll share that information with you guys, of course. So as far as what's your recommendation for EMP safe light source? Really, flashlights. I mean, lanterns. The stuff's not going to burn out, guys. Even the LEDs, they're EMP probably not going to affect them. If you want to go old school, go beyond that. Get the old hurricane style lanterns and some lamp oil.
Yeah.
Even kerosene will burn them. Diesel fuel will burn in them. I keep some of those old Dietz lanterns around for that purpose. That just about anything I dump in that tank is going to burn.
It's going to burn.
So that's an alternative too. And I keep a lot of lamp oil, but I also have hundreds of gallons of diesel at my house, so I'm going to have fuel.
All right, Aaron asks, moving on here. You guys, we have tons of questions, but if you have more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments.
Yeah.
I've heard metal screen material will work as a cage, a Faraday cage. Is that true?
Depends on the gauge, and I can't pull off the top of my head what that minimum or maximum gauge is. I don't remember.
So there's a lot of, you can get copper mesh wire, you can get metal screening that you put in like screen doors or windows and things like that. In one of our insider issues that we did, over a year ago, I made a Faraday cage.
Yep.
So it's just a wooden frame with the metal screening stapled to it, make sure it's overlapped, all that. Here comes the hard part with regards to, a lot of people want to say like, oh, if I put a radio inside or my cell phone and I close it,
not the same
then
thing.
I know that it works.
They're entirely different frequencies, folks.
Exactly.
One does not equate to the other.
And that was like when we had these bags tested, they did them at a ton of different frequencies,
Yes.
all the way up to like 250, which is huge. But the fact that, you can take like a weather radio and you can put, different items over it and it'll cut down on the reception.
You can take an aluminum pie pan and throw on top of it and it's going to kill it.
Yeah, so, it's really difficult to really gauge. And it also depends on, like Chris said, what type of metal you use.
Yeah.
Gaps also are a huge thing.
Any gap. And here's the thing, guys. If you are wanting to make your own Faraday cage, budgets are tight and whatnot, we get that. The folks that tested this tested some alternatives for us as well.
Yeah.
The most effective one, if you want to build your own Faraday cage at home on the cheap, is to get you a galvanized garbage can with a galvanized lid and a bunch of steel wool, make a gasket around that lid, line the interior with something non-conductive, and when you put that lid on, you have a Faraday cage.
Yeah.
That was the most effective alternative version we tested.
Well.
It didn't work quite as good as these, but it was damn close to this.
Right.
So, but yeah. How do I EMP proof my pacemaker? Start wearing aluminum foil suits. That's tough, man. I don't know. I don't know enough about pacemakers to be sure.
And it's a difficult thing because I know with regards to pacemakers, like they run on such little amounts
of power,
of actual power that would be a tough one. That's
maybe if we can get that guy Peter Pry on the line, we'll ask him about that because that's a legit concern for a lot of folks.
All right, you can take the next one.
So do we know how much a EMP will affect us? Like what will work and what won't? No, we don't, Lisa, because again, like we said, no one's ever experienced one before.
Yeah.
You can pretty much guarantee the power is going to be out for an extended period of time. And without power, unless you got a generator and lots of fuel or solar power, the items that work and the items that don't is going to be kind of moot because they're going to have a very short shelf life. You're going to run out of fuel or run out of the way to charge things. So it's going to be kind of moot. I would have plans in place for alternative, manually operated things as opposed to electrical stuff. So,
I agree. All right, Brad asks, In reality, what type of event you guys think is you guys mostly preparing for? EMP, nuclear, pandemic. So,
Well, for me, it's hurricanes because I know there'll be one next year.
yeah, we did a video. I think it's linked, Nikki. Yes. What is SHTF? That I think was the title of it, Nikki.
Yeah.
If you can. So with regards to what are you preparing for, we kind of came up with 4 different rings of problems that we prepare for. First is personal. So prepare for what can happen to you personal inside your household. It could be health. It could be finances. Lack of a job, anything like that. It could
be your house burning down, your house
Yeah.
getting washed away in a flood, whatever. Your personal emergencies.
And then go to regional. So we live in Florida, so we prepare. It's June, the end of June,
Yep.
hurricane season. I'm sorry, end of July. Holy smokes!
it is.
End of July. It's soon going to be August, September, which are the peaks of hurricane season.
Yep.
So regional is if you live in pretty much anywhere in the coast. Don't say Florida anymore. New York gets more hurricanes than we do.
Couldn't happen to nicer folks either, really.
But if you live in that kind of area, tornado alley,
Flood zones,
earthquakes, be prepared for
California.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Wildfire.
and then you can expand it to a national thing. So that could be a financial crisis that hits.
Cyberattack, nationwide civil unrest.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. EMP would be a national event.
And then go to a global. So you start thinking, what could happen if Russia, or North Korea or somebody, outside terrorists came in and caused issues.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you project it. It was a video that we did, and we're actually going to do some more stuff with that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I present things.
Well, and that's how we all should. We need to look at ourselves first. You are guaranteed to have some sort of a personal emergency in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Probably lots of them, And again, it's everything we covered. Loss of a job, a medical condition, loss of a home to a fire, flood, whatever. Anything can happen on a personal level. You need to prepare for those first. If you're not prepared to go to survive the loss of a job, trying to survive the end of the world is going to be pretty tough too. But get your house in order first. And then start looking at your neighborhood, start looking at your state, start looking at your nation, that's how we do this. So
I mean, that's kind of, what we gear towards, and you kind of calculate the risks within those levels.
Yeah.
So if a fridge or other appliances are unplugged, will they fail?
Probably not.
Yeah.
There's no current going to them. They're not operating at the moment, and the odds of them picking up very much current is going to be pretty slim. They'll pick up some probably, but probably not enough to hurt it. And refrigerators are fairly robust. I mean, unless you've got one of the crazy ones with the TV in it or some weirdness, then you've got
Still
too
trying to
much
figure that
money
one out.
on your hands.
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I stare at my fridge, but it's me trying to figure out what I'm.
I mean, I could understand a TV built into the wall opposite the toilet. That would make sense to me, but not the fridge. But yeah, they'll probably be fine. So. It says, if a vehicle is fried by an EMP, is it repairable, and if so, what parts and equipment would be needed to repair it?
Well, first of all, we have to determine what year of vehicle you're driving, because if it's a 1974 Ford pickup truck, it could be a couple fuses in the fuse panel, and you're ready to go. If it's something like a 1965 Chevy, there's nothing
to replace.
You just turn the key. For the most part,
And again, it depends on, the vehicles are getting more and more complicated. A
Yeah.
lot of them now are fly-by-wire even.
Yeah.
You're steering, you're not actually engaged to the wheels when you steer.
The computer is putting in
Computer.
fuel.
So, you could have, on a modern vehicle, you could be looking at a minimum electronic ignition, and then potentially the computer. And then God knows what other assorted auxiliary systems on board could be affected to prevent it from running. They're just so damn complicated today. It'd be hard for us to list that out because I'm not a mechanic on that level. I mean, I'm a shade tree kind of mechanic, but
yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, vehicles have gotten very technological. Your truck, my vehicle.
Yeah, we got in his car to go to lunch earlier, and a TV came out of the dashboard. I was like, what the hell? So it'd be hard to say exactly what would happen. But if you can find you an older vehicle that you don't necessarily need to rely on, that you can kind of put back, it's a good call. Even dirt bikes, like 2-strokes, run all day long. So be hard to say on that one though, because the electronics inside of the cars are changing so fast.
Yeah.
And getting more and more complicated. So
let's see here. Okay, so Indiana.
Indiana.
Sorry, it was moving up and down. Indiana. Okay. Okay to assume my night vision and red dots will survive inside my safe.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can take one more step of protection
Yeah,
and
throw
put
them
them
in
in
these.
here. So, as you guys, if you follow the channel, you know, I do a lot of nighttime hog hunting. I keep, you know, like my handheld thermal, night vision, everything just in one of these bags. And when I go hunting, I just grab it. I throw it in my backpack. I use it all, and then I throw it back in here. It's not like I walk around the house. Well, I do walk around the house at night, but it's not like I walk around the house every night, you know, with my nods
Mine
on
are mounted
and
to my
everything.
helmet, hanging on a hook by
you
my
know,
bed.
but yeah, within a safe, you know, it should
They're probably gonna be fine.
just fine. But you can also take another layer with like a
Yeah,
bag or something.
yeah. If you
like
wanted
that.
to be sure, this is the way to do it.
So because it is an investment, you know, and that's
It's
what
a
I
huge
tell people
investment, yeah.
all the time.
And it's one of the greatest force multipliers the individual can purchase. So, Joe King's asking, would the starter solenoid be affected too? I'm going to say no, because that's so robust. A solenoid is it's just an electromagnet. Is all a solenoid is. The wire on those things is fairly heavy. It would take a substantial load to damage that, is what I'm going to say. And this is coming from experience, folks. I spent almost 20 years as a heavy industrial electrician. I'm very familiar with solenoids and switches, that sort of stuff. And it would take a substantial load to damage that solenoid. So,
Truth Seeker asks, can aluminum foil wrapped around several times with both sides facing out, facing up, will it protect an emergency radio? Once again, you know, like I talked before, if you take a bunch of aluminum foil and wrap it around, say, a emergency radio, and it's touching the antenna, all you've done is make a bigger antenna.
You'd have to put a non-conductive layer between the radio and the aluminum foil, and if
To
you
have
put
any chance at all.
Yeah, and if you got enough around it, but you know, when you wrap that, you're going to roll those ends in. Let's just say those ends are where you're going to have issues. That's where you can have potential leaks. So if you were going to do that, you know, I would wrap it this way, and then I would turn it, and I would wrap it this way, and that would probably do a pretty good job of it. But just keep them as tight to each other as you can too. Air gaps are a problem.
And also, guys, if you have, you know, I know there's a million questions. We did do a Survival Dispatch Insider issue. It's 80 pages long. Tons of articles, no ads or anything like that, tons of articles. So if you'd like to become a Survival Dispatch Insider member, there's a free 14-day trial, and you get access to our monthly magazine that we do. It's fantastic. You know, every single month we do it on a different topic. We have done one topic. So, you know, we use it as a resource library. It's phenomenal. Editorial work that goes into it rivals any magazine that you'll see on the newsstand. But we got rid of all the ads and all the tear-outs that you just want to throw in the trash every single time you see it. We hate them.
Yeah.
We got rid of all that. It's on one topic, and we use it as a information resource magazine. But we did a whole issue just on EMP and surviving one, and tons of articles. And we have 17 different writers that work for us.
Yeah, it's not just me and him doing this.
Yeah, so we have tons of great contributors to it. So go ahead, check it out. The link is in the comment box below. So, all right, you got the next one, Chris.
Can what happened in Hawaii earlier this year happen on a larger scale, like nationwide? Was that the blackout?
I think so. I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of things have happened to Hawaii.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened. Yeah, you guys have volcanoes, for God's sake. Yeah, I mean, you look at Manhattan, New York. We had a blackout in New York, then we had one in D.C., then we had another one in New York. Absolutely can happen.
And New York, I mean, they issued a statement. The city of New York City issued a statement when they were having the heat wave coming through to not have like any buildings that were over 20 stories, which are a lot of buildings in New York, have their thermostat set below 78 or 79 degrees, something like that, because their infrastructure is so taxed. I mean, it is to the verge of
it's
being
old as
overran.
hell to start with, you know, and it's, like you said, it's overloaded. Just yesterday or the day before, I think it was, the Con Edison in New York cut power to 30,000 customers just because the load was getting high. So they just said, okay, no power for you.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. And yeah, you know, the only way you'd have a nationwide style blackout like that could be through a cyber attack or EMP. Cyber attack is far more likely probably than EMP, because we know that other nation states, other hacktivist groups, other terrorist groups have all accessed the networks. We know that. They've all been compromised. And it's really just a matter of a couple clicks on a mouse for these people to fire off the weapons they've left inside of those systems. So it can happen. Yes, it can happen. And if a grid failure was to occur, you're going to be looking at the same kind of loss of life and such as like an EMP if it was nationwide. You know, Ted Koppel's book, Lights Out, if you haven't read that, great read. you'll see how woefully unprepared our government is in the event this should occur.
Yeah.
Scare the hell out of you.
All right, Scott asks, I had to grab these real quick. Scott asked, will it affect batteries? Will an EMP affect batteries in a system?
Well,
no.
I think he's talking like a solar system, like a solar system, big batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is most batteries will be just fine.
Yeah.
I grabbed these. This is an Olight CR123 battery, and this is a Phoenix AA battery. These are both rechargeable batteries. They actually, and this is part of a kit that I have in one of my bags. These both take micro USB cables, so you can charge these batteries off of like a power bank, anything like that, with just a micro USB cable. It plugs right in. Now these have circuitry in them,
Yes.
so it's a big difference. So
Yes.
it all kind of depends on what kind of batteries you're talking about. But like a regular, Energizer Duracell battery, not gonna have any issues. But specialty batteries, you could run into.
And in
some.
your solar system, it could be a coin toss, depending on how the EMP affects your particular area. Again, looking at orientation, distance, and yield and all that stuff. It could potentially overload those diodes in your panel, and it could send it back into your inverters and your charge controllers and potentially your batteries. But I would think that your inverters and charge controllers would burn up first before it got to your batteries. But again, these can be massive loads, so it potentially could, but I wouldn't call it a high probability.
And
So, yeah.
yeah, and we would like to say thank you to everybody that's watching us on YouTube, on Facebook.
Absolutely, guys.
We're
Thanks for tuning
expanding.
in.
We're working on Nikki got us some new software up and running, so now we're going to be running live on multiple platforms. So no matter if you're on Facebook, YouTube, even Instagram coming here next week, we're going to just be sharing it everywhere. So we appreciate every single one of you guys out there. So, all right, next question.
In a SHTF condition, can water from a swimming pool be used to drink if using a Sawyer Mini or Life Straw? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. 100%. Wouldn't even question it. I'd get it immediately. So it's safe to drink in the pool.
My
as
kid drinks
is.
it all the time.
I was going to say, we all drank it as kids. So, but yeah, once it starts turning green, that's just algae. The filters will take it out. See, Josh was asking, would EMP affect satellites? P.S. This is the show. Is this live show completely EMP questions? Sorry, I was late.
Oh, yes, Josh, this whole episode
Is EMP questions. Don't ask nothing else. Yeah, it would affect satellites. Anything in low orbit, and again, circumference of the Earth, all that trajectory stuff. But yeah, satellites would be affected too, for sure. But you got to remember, they have built-in shielding, so it would affect
they deal with
because radiation in space.
Yeah.
So, and they're dealing with solar winds and all that other garbage. So they have some shielding, but some of them would certainly be affected. I would bet GPS would be gone.
Matt has an extremely important question here.
This is critical.
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 Pay attention. Turn the volume up right now. You need to hear the answer to this question. Would whiskey distilleries still be able to produce?
If they're doing it right, yes.
There you go. So
All you need is corn, water, and sugar.
So
barrels.
yeah, it's a pretty low tech.
They
operation.
better be, is all I got to say.
So yes, but if you guys have any questions, with regards to EMPs, feel free to ask them in the comments.
Yeah.
If you have any other survival questions, yes, if we can get to them, we'll get to them and ask. But yeah, what we're trying to do here is every week we're just going to pick a random topic, or we might ask you guys to pick the topic and just have an hour or so that we just sit down and
Chew it over.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's one of those things where that's what we kind of wanted to build at Survival Dispatch when we started this, was a community of people that could come together. The comment section, you guys start bouncing ideas and questions and comments off of each other as well, and then have the ability to ask, us and all the other hosts that we bring on here, quite frequently. It's really what we wanted to create, and this is just part of it.
Yeah, it's just part of it. We got another question. Lisa's asking, if you had a holding tank underground, would your electronics be safe in that if an EMP would hit? The answer is a big maybe. Again, it depends on
how deep.
How deep is it? What's the tank made of?
Yeah. How thick are the walls?
How thick are the walls? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Again, it's super simple, guys. Little Faraday cages, like I said, galvanized garbage can. It works. So, would a solar flare be more likely to happen than EMP? I'd say the odds of those are about even, really. We know a solar flare will happen.
Yes.
Absolutely.
At some point.
It's going to. When? We don't know.
Where?
100
We
years?
don't know.
Yeah, and which side of the globe is it going to hit? 100 years? 200 years? We don't know. Next month? We don't know. But one will occur. That's the difference. We can't say for certainty that an EMP will occur, but we know a solar flare certainly will occur.
Yeah. And then Kevin asks, what are our thoughts? What are your thoughts on like nuclear reactors and stuff? Being EMP shielded.
They're not EMP shielded.
Yeah.
But the way the plants are designed is in a fail-safe manner. The rods, the fuel rods, will be protected. Now they still need to pump water, and that'll be an issue. But they also have diesel generators and that sort of thing. They're going to be a problem, though. Absolutely.
I have a friend of mine that actually. I'm going to say he works security detail for a lot of large plants in America. There are fail-safes upon fail-safes upon fail-safes, secondary and tertiary, things that will kick in if something were to happen. Now, if a situation lasts long enough, that's when those would start to become an issue. Like, yes, they have, like Chris said, generators and pumps that are going to feed water into the rods and keep them cool, keep them from melting. That's as long as there's diesel to go into those generators.
Yes, and a way to move it and all that other stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of contingencies. But, if you live anywhere near a nuclear plant, like if you have to, if that's where your job is, where your family is, where you're just meant to be, it's something that you have to take into consideration.
Yes.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to that regional, SHTF ring that we've kind of created. It has to be something that has to be looked at because it is an event that could happen.
It's a potentiality, yes.
Just like overpopulation is also. You might not live in Atlanta, but if you live 5 miles outside of Atlanta, there's a lot of people that live in Atlanta. And food and water and stuff will run out, and they're going somewhere. So it's something you have to take into effect. Now, will an EMP cause an issue, on a lot of power plants?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But we'll have to hope that and two, everybody thinks that just if the power goes off in a nuke plant, that means it's going to blow up. A lot of things have to go really, really wrong, and it's happened twice in Chernobyl and Fukushima. Chernobyl was just because the Russians did something stupid and blew theirs up. And in Fukushima, it actually was meltdowns. But they only had, of the 3 reactors that melted down, only one of them breached the containment vessel. So that's something else to keep in mind. While the plant did melt down, all the fuel melted, it was still encapsulated in the containment vessel. That's like the last line of defense. But they did have one breach that even, and that's where all the radiation came from.
And I mean, you take things like Chernobyl. Listen, guys, do some research. I watched a documentary on Netflix the other night.
I watched it a few weeks ago. It was really good, too.
Yeah,
if you haven't watched it, watch
it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it showed maps of, wind flow that collected the radiation and moved it, and how many people had to be evacuated. And
if you watch the Chernobyl miniseries, there's like a 5.
I know, I haven't watched that one yet.
That's really good. What's interesting there is the number of people that were highly exposed that didn't die.
Yeah.
Like right away. I mean, they died, some of them decades later. So it kind of opened my eyes as to what you thought it was isn't necessarily how it really works. And 2, it gives you a really good idea of what radiation poisoning looks like and how fast it can manifest. On some of these guys, it was immediate.
Yeah.
But when you're looking over the handrail into the melted down reactor core, that's a bad idea. Don't do that.
All right, next question here, Chris.
As far as affecting satellites, are you talking man-made EMP or a sun's coronal mass ejection? Both. Both of them can do it. Again, the satellites are designed to handle the radiation and the solar winds and stuff from the sun, but a massive blast of it will absolutely destroy satellites. Yeah. And EMP has the potential to do the same thing. And again, you got to think there's low Earth orbit, mid or high. It's the number of factors go into it. Again, even the orientation of the satellite to the blast, all sorts of things. But yes, it's an electronic device hanging out in space. Although robust, it will probably be affected. So.
Yeah.
Maybe you already answered. It says, any ideas on low-cost ways to make a small Faraday cage or box? Yeah, rewatch the video. We did answer it.
Give them the 10-second version.
Galvanized garbage can with steel wool for a gasket.
There you go.
That's your low-cost. Do it with something non-conductive inside. Rubber, foam rubber, anything like that. Do y'all recommend any books pertaining to disaster survival? I recently read One Second After, and it truly opened my eyes to EMP type events. Are you wanting like fiction or nonfiction?
Let's just go with both. So first is Lights Out, I think.
Lights Out? Oh yeah. Oh, Koppel's book? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, well,
Yeah.
Lights Out by Ted Koppel is a
Ted
great
Koppel,
book to
yeah.
read to give you an idea of just how, like I said earlier, woefully unprepared our government is to respond to these type of events.
Yeah.
And it gives you some ideas there too. And in the fiction world, if you haven't read the Going Home series,
Yes.
shameless plug,
Yes.
go ahead and do that too. But there's a number of good ones out there. And when you look at some of these books online, look at the ASBOTs. That's how you'll start seeing what other folks are reading too, to go along with that. And follow Survival Dispatch. If you're not a member, become a member. You'll get a lot of really good info here on how to prepare for this stuff.
Yeah, and and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of fantastic writers, just like Chris, that write in the fiction world.
Yeah.
But they write also based off of facts
Yes.
that they know or events that they've gone through in life. They just put it in an entertaining.
Fact is always
Aspect.
stranger than fiction, and you can't make the best stuff up.
Yeah, so
Truly.
so it's one of those things where there's a lot of really good books out there. Like One Second After, like Chris's series,
Yep.
that can really, you can pick up little tidbits of information, and it also kind of gives you a sense of what it might look like.
Yeah.
And it can kind of shake you.
Yeah, it can be a little disturbing.
know?
It's like I said, when I was with Alan over the weekend, we were following all the stuff when Iran was seizing tankers, and so we were following that as we were working. And I made the comment, I'm like, it sucks to be so aware sometimes. It can be paralyzing if you allow it.
Yeah.
When you're so aware of all the stuff that's happening in the world. I follow news from all over the globe. Like we're doing this, but my phone's probably filling up with stuff that I need to read. But I'd rather know and filter it out as opposed to not know and be caught by surprise. So,
All right. Aaron wants to ask, let's see, how do you address the issue of younger children possibly being more affected by a loss of electronics?
I'm going to let you answer that one with Grayson. I know he's got his own iPad.
It all varies. One of the things we have to realize is with a lot of younger kids, so I have a 4-year-old, okay, so I got a young one at home. He likes to watch an iPad and watch a movie and things like that. There's an age where they have adapted to that as a lifestyle. Like we did not have an iPad. A TV weighed like 80 pounds.
We had an Atari.
I didn't even have that. But it's one of those things where they have adapted to having that within their life. It can be broken. They can live. It's not a necessity. But it's also one of those things where Chris and I talk about it all the time. If there was to be an SHTF situation, grid down, whatever you want to call it, a part of your survival preps are trying to make life as normal as possible.
Yes, comfortable.
Comfortable.
And two, the kids, as far as the kids, the reliance on electronics and the connection they have to them, a lot of us, that's our fault.
Yes.
Because how easy is it when the kid's being a little fussy when they're young to hand them a phone with a video playing or hand them an iPad, because they'll sit and occupy them for hours.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's our own doing. But it will be traumatic for them.
Yeah.
Because again, they don't know life without that.
Yep.
So maybe introduce some electronic-free weekends or some electronic-free days.
Yeah.
No one's going to mess with stuff. Leave the phones somewhere else at dinner time. Make everybody sit and talk in meet space, face to face, and engage with one another. I mean, how often do we go out to dinner or something like that, and you'll see people sitting at a table and they're both on their phones. I was with a group of 6 people here just a while back, and my phone was in my pocket. I don't spend as much time on mine as most people do. And the rest of them, the 5, every one of them had their phone in their hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, aren't we here to hang out with each other? If you guys want to do this shit, I'm leaving. It's really a beast we've created. So I would start trying to ease them into the idea of this stuff isn't permanent, and it can go away.
Yeah, and then also if I like entertainment as a part of my preps as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, you can throw, you can grab, one of these bags, you can put a laptop in it with a hard drive that has a ton of movies that can be hooked up to, a solar panel to charge it, during the day.
A laptop, anything.
Anything that like that. An old DVD player that you can now get for like $20 probably, you know, on eBay. And DVDs now only cost a couple of dollars.
Yeah,
Go to
$5.
Walmart, they have bins, you know.
Yeah.
You can buy them used on Amazon or buy them used on eBay for, you know, pennies on the dollar. And you can fit that in there to really address, you know, the situation of having young children. And it's one of those things where if it sucks, it's going to suck.
Yeah, yeah.
Period. End of story. And your job, I'm going to say my job as a father is to help my son, if that were to happen, he not have to suffer as much.
To navigate that, yeah.
That's it.
And, you know, and it's kind of funny, if you look back a couple hundred years, fun to kids was pushing a hoop with a stick.
Right.
There's still hoops, there's still sticks. You know, they'll do what we allow them to do and what we give them to do. And maybe studying up on some of those older toys and games, that kind of thing that you can do. God forbid we make them use their imagination themselves to entertain themselves.
All right, we got another question here. I've heard a rumor that Angry American's beard is a working Faraday cage. Can you confirm? I can confirm that it's a flavor saver, that he has picked Cheetos and fries out of it.
We were at lunch. It's my spirit animal, actually.
As far as a Faraday cage, you know, we could get a weather radio in that thing.
We would have if my barber hadn't been so aggressive last time I went to him. We're going to have a talk about that when I see him next.
I'm sorry.
No, I was not happy.
I'm sorry. But you just touched the top. I could feel the radiation coming off of that one.
That's why I don't carry a pistol when I go see him.
All right.
How many...
Yes.
Well, it was. How many books in the Going Home series, and can you buy them as a set?
Oh, and there's the next one.
There's 10 books. Yeah, we were wondering when that one was coming. We knew it was coming. There's 10 books currently in the series. Yes, you can buy a box set at the link.
AngryAmerican.tv. It's already there.
Nikki's already put up. Click the shop button. You can buy a signed set of books from me. That's the only way to get a set, because half of them are published by Penguin Random House, half of them I self-published. Penguin doesn't want to play nice to do a box set or do anything fun like that, so I made the box set myself. I made the box. The box is cool. I mean, I didn't make the box. I had it designed.
Just take all the credit. Just go ahead. He produced it. He made them.
He did nothing for this.
So if you want to buy the individual books, they are
Amazon,
on
Barnes
Amazon.
& Noble, wherever.
If you want the collector's set, it's freaking awesome.
It is cool.
You can buy them. Chris autographs it for you. It's freaking awesome. You
Yep.
can go to AngryAmerican.tv.
And click the shop tab.
Look it out.
So as this question that we had a wager on how long it would take. When is the next Going Home book coming out? Just as soon as I finish it. It's as solid as answer I can give you.
I'll hop in here as far as his manager. Chris is currently working on 3 books.
Yes, I am.
He's also a contributor to Survival Dispatch.
Yes,
has
I
a
am.
lot going on with regards to other things that are in the works also.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
So Chris, you know, I'll give him a pass on this one. I'm waiting for book 11 just as much as you guys are. So, but in the sooner than later.
So
Is that the best answer?
Yeah,
for that?
I
In
mean,
the
it's.
sooner
I'm
than
trying.
later.
I'm trying, guys. I really am. But
He's not trying hard, but he's trying.
Shut up. I don't like you. All right, we got another question from Senior. Says, what was the battery charger cable you did a review on? The little gray one, remember?
Oh.
Has the feed through USB.
Nikki is going to find that. Are you talking? I think you're talking
Yeah.
about to charge.
Like anything.
CR123 battery.
Well, it'll do double A's. It'll do
do
anything.
double A's,
It's
yeah.
got the magnets on either end. That's what he's
Yeah.
asking about. We'll put a link to it. Those things are cool. I've got a couple. He uses them. We use them. They're fantastic for keeping flashlight batteries and stuff going, as well as powering your cell phone, which I actually did when I was up at Allen's. I used it to charge my phone because I didn't feel like going out to the truck to get my charger.
Did you literally take your flashlight out?
No, I have battery
you had a
caddy.
spare
I
one?
have battery
Okay.
caddy and stuff. I'm not a.
Awesome.
Come on, yeah, I charge
Awesome.
my phone with it.
Yeah, Nikki will leave a link to it. It's really cool. If you guys don't know, it can charge both ways. So
it can charge and then also act as a power supply.
as a power supply.
So charge your phone, whatever you need to do,
Nikki will-
which is
Nikki
pretty
will
cool.
comment that.
And it's so small; it'll fit in a pocket. You know, I mean, it's.
All right. So if any more questions, feel free to leave them below. We are going to hop off here because Chris and I have some more work that we have to get done.
That's a 4-letter word, man.
Whew. But if you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave them below. We'll be around for the next couple of days. And and we'll get to it. But next week, here's what I want you to do. Comment below what you would like next week's live topic to be.
Yeah, you guys pick.
So
Stop making us do all the work.
We do so much work.
Because we work so hard.
Man. But, once again, I want to thank Nikki and Allie, the guys and gals behind the camera here. They do an awesome job making sure that we get all of your comments up here. We'd also like to thank each and every single one of you.
Absolutely. There was over 150 people on here today. It was fantastic, guys. That's why we do this, to get everybody together. And I will answer that last question, even though Nikki took it down. So we're asking about when's Purifier going to have shot cord. I don't know, but I will call Bobby on my way home and ask him about that. I'm going to put a shameless plug in for Bobby and myself real quick. So Bobby Land, Purifier Tactical, you guys know, you've seen the videos we've done on his product. You know we endorse him. We love his stuff. He and I are both doing a giveaway. If you go to his Facebook page, Purifier Tactical, or my Facebook page, Inger American, I'll have the video up later today. We are giving away each one of his fire starters that's signed by both of us. Only ones of those that exist anywhere, to somebody who shares the videos and likes and does all that good stuff. You'll read the thing, but we're going to give one away. And then I'm bringing in a couple. Bobby gave us a few for Survival Dispatch. Yep. We're going to do a giveaway for you guys as well, so we'll give some more of those away also. And these things are fantastic. Best one you can get.
So this is the Purifier. This is his folding model.
Yeah.
If you guys are like, shot cord, what? This is the shot cord that he's talking about. It goes on the back of the handle. It goes through a hole. And what this is made to do is you can run the shot cord through your belt and then loop it back over and keep your fire starter on your belt. So,
not lose it.
And then you can also, put it on your hand so you don't lose your fire steel as well. So that's Purifier.
That.
So that's the folder.
If you guys like this and enjoyed this little session of insanity, give us a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel, come back and see us. As you guys can tell, we have a lot of videos, a lot of work goes into these videos, and we're getting ready to do some cool stuff. We've got some things coming up. One of them's just going to be a suck fest.
Yes.
We're going to do it for you guys. We're not going to enjoy it at all, but you'll get to enjoy our misery watching us do it with Alan Kay. That's coming up here shortly.
Go ahead and tell them.
Well, we're going to do a 48-hour challenge, for lack of a better word, where we're not going to take anything at all with us. No tools, no shelters.
Clothes on our back.
Clothes on our back, shoes on our feet. That's all we're going to have. Yeah. And it will be a solid 48 hours, and we will show you guys how we get through that. So that's why I said it's going to be a suck fest, because I believe in being prepared, and in this condition, we will be woefully
unprepared.
Totally unprepared.
We will have skill and knowledge.
That's what we're going to have to go
off
of. And sarcasm. You're going to get lots of sarcasm. So, but that's coming up here pretty soon. We're going to be going up to mountains in North Georgia with Alan to film that. And you guys will see that, it can be done. And you'll see why we talk about having EDC and having a bag and being ready, because it's not going to be fun.
So we thank each and every one of you guys. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. Like I said, check us out. We're everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, The Insider, SurvivalDispatch.com. Until next time, be safe.
Thanks a lot, guys.
While the rising threat of a nuclear weapon strike by North Korea or Iran gets all the headlines, one of the greatest threats we face is that of a weaponized EMP attack or solar flare hitting our national power grid. In either case, our entire power infrastructure will be shut down. You may not think that our power grid is that vital compared to the threat of natural disasters or a nuclear attack, but experts have estimated that 90% of the affected population would be dead within 1 year of a major EMP blast. Cell towers, power plants, and most satellites will be out of commission for quite a long time. That's why savvy survivalists make preparations for such an event by purchasing standalone devices, like solar chargers, walkie-talkies, ham radios, and other critical electronics. Let's face it, technology just makes life easier. Having a few inexpensive pieces of tech can give you a massive advantage when everybody else is in the dark. But they won't be any good to you if they get fried by the initial EMP or solar flare. It's vital that you protect your critical standalone devices to ensure that you can use them once the danger has passed. So how do you go about protecting your important gear? SurviveTek Faraday Bags are designed to shield your devices against electromagnetic pulses and other types of dangerous electrical radiation. The SurviveTek Faraday Bag combo kit includes 2 different sized bags. The Trekker is perfect for a small bug out or get home bag, while the much larger Vault is ideal for protecting your communications gear, night vision optics, flashlights, and even a laptop or tablet. Here's a simple demonstration of how the SurviveTek Faraday Bag works. We'll place our cell phone inside the Trekker's small device bag. The IsoTech copper weaving shield system blocks incoming cell signals to the phone. When the phone goes looking for a cell tower, it can't find a signal, and within a few seconds reports no service. This same shielding technology keeps your critical electronic gear safe during a hostile electromagnetic pulse attack or solar flare incident. If you have purchased any electronics as part of your survival preparations, you would be foolish to leave them unprotected. Click the link below to learn more about how SurviveTek Faraday Bags can help save your equipment and potentially your life when an electronic disaster strikes.